The restaurant glittered under warm chandeliers, each reflection bouncing off the polished marble floor like liquid gold. Ethan Cole adjusted the cuff of his suit, glancing once more at his watch. He didn't like waiting, not for anyone. In his world, people waited for him. But tonight was different. Tonight, his assistant had insisted he try something normal, something human. A blind date. He almost cancelled twice. What business did a billionaire CEO have pretending to be an ordinary man at a dimly lit restaurant? Yet, curiosity, or perhaps loneliness, kept him there. He swirled the wine in his glass, watching the crimson liquid catch the light. Then the door opened, and everything else fell away. A woman stepped inside, wrapped in quiet grace. Her dress was simple black, her movements unhurried. Her gaze swept across the room until it found him. When she smiled politely, Ethan felt an unexpected jolt in his chest, a flicker of recognition he couldn't place. "Mr. Cole?" she asked when she reached his table. He stood automatically. "Yes, you must be Clara. Clara Evans," she said with a nod. Her voice was soft, confident, but something in her eyes, something wounded and knowing, made him pause. He gestured for her to sit. "I hope I haven't kept you waiting." "Not at all," she said, settling into her chair. "I'm actually surprised you're early. Most men aren't." He smiled faintly. "I'm not most men, I can tell," she replied, arching a brow. They talked, at first, about safe things, work, travel, books neither of them had actually finished. Ethan found himself relaxing, drawn to her warmth and wit. She was clever but calm, not impressed by his subtle mentions of wealth, nor eager to please. Something about her made him feel both seen and uneasy, like standing under a light too bright. Halfway through dinner, she laughed, an unguarded, melodic laugh that hit him like déjà vu. He froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. "What is it?" she asked. He blinked. "Nothing. You sound like someone I used to know." "Oh," she said lightly. "Someone important." He hesitated, then shrugged. "Once, maybe. A long time ago." Clara smiled, but there was no humor in it. Funny how the past has a way of showing up when we least expect it. Ethan didn't know what to say to that, so he said nothing. But as the evening wore on, he found himself studying her face, the curve of her cheek, the shape of her smile. There was something hauntingly familiar about her. And yet, he couldn't place it. He prided himself on never forgetting a deal, a face, a mistake. So why did she feel like all three? Outside, the city hummed beyond the window, rain beginning to fall in thin, silvery threads. When the check came, Clara reached for her purse, but he stopped her. "My treat," he said smoothly. "I can pay for myself," she replied evenly. "I don't doubt that," he said, meeting her gaze. "But I'd like to." Something in his tone softened her resistance. "All right, but next time, I'm paying." "Next time," he echoed, intrigued. "Maybe," she said, smiling faintly. They walked out together, the rain now steady and cool. He offered her his jacket. She refused, saying she liked the rain. They fell into step along the quiet street. "You know," he said after a while, "I can't shake the feeling that we've met before." "Maybe we have," she said simply. "I'd remember someone like you." "Would you?" she asked, looking at him. "People forget more easily than they think." He frowned, studying her expression. There was something heavy in her tone, something unsaid. "Have I done something to offend you?" he asked finally. "No," she said, too quickly. Then, after a pause, "Not recently." Ethan stopped walking. "What does that mean?" Clara turned, to face him fully, her eyes calm but shining with old hurt. "It means we have met before. 10 years ago, in a little train station outside Boston." His breath caught. "Boston, you were leaving for New York," she continued quietly. "You said you'd come back after the internship. You said we'd figure it out." Ethan's heart pounded. Images flashed through his mind. The summer before he got his first big break, the girl he'd left behind, the promises he'd made and never kept. "Clara," he whispered. "Clara Hayes." She nodded slowly. "It was Evans then too. You just never cared to remember." He felt the air leave his lungs. I didn't know. You thought you could leave and start over," she said, her voice steady but trembling at the edges. "And you did. You became everything you said you would. Congratulations." "Clara, I'm sorry," he said, his voice low. "You have to believe me. I was young, stupid, ambitious. And I was naive," she cut in. "Waiting for a letter that never came, checking every train that pulled in for a face that never showed." The rain was heavier now, dripping from her hair, but she didn't flinch. Ethan wanted to reach for her, to say something, anything, that could undo the years between them. But words, for once, failed him. "Why didn't you tell me tonight?" he asked finally. "Why pretend?" "Because I wanted to see if you'd remember," she said softly. "If even a part of you still carried that summer." He closed his eyes. "I didn't forget you, Clara. I buried you, because remembering hurt too much." She let out a shaky breath, tears mingling with the rain. "And now I wish I'd never let you go." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The city blurred around them, all sound swallowed by the rain. Then Clara stepped back, her expression unreadable. "You can't rewrite the past, Ethan," she said. "And I don't belong in your future." "Please," he said, his voice breaking. "Let me try." But she shook her head gently. "Goodbye, Mr. Cole." And just like that, she turned and walked away, her figure dissolving into the silver rain. Ethan stood there, soaked, motionless, the weight of 10 years pressing down on him. Around him, the city pulsed with life, cars, laughter, light, but he heard none of it. He was back at that train station again, watching the one woman who'd ever truly loved him disappear from view. This time, she didn't wait. And he had no one to blame but himself. The rooftop restaurant glittered against the city skyline, a perfect setting for someone like Ethan Cole, billionaire, CEO, and the man who never had time for anything that didn't come with a contract attached. He checked his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. "Why am I even doing this?" he thought. A blind date, his assistant's idea, apparently, to make him seem more relatable. Ridiculous. He was about to call the waiter for the check when the elevator doors opened, and everything stopped. A woman stepped out in a black dress, her hair tied back loosely, her eyes calm but alert. She moved with quiet confidence, scanning the tables before walking toward him. "Mr. Cole?" she asked. He stood, masking his curiosity behind polite charm. "Yes, you must be Clara Evans," she said with a polite smile. Her voice, something about it stirred something deep in him, a feeling just out of reach. She wasn't the kind of woman who flattered or fawned, and he liked that immediately. They started with small talk, the safe kind. Work, travel, and the absurdity of dating apps. Ethan found himself oddly at ease. Clara laughed easily, listened fully, and didn't seem remotely intimidated by him. And that laugh, it echoed faintly in his memory, like music from a long-forgotten summer. "You remind me of someone," he said suddenly. Clara's fork paused midair. "Do I?" "Yes," he said, smiling faintly. "Someone I used to know a long time ago." She tilted her head. "And did you like her?" He hesitated. "I think I loved her," he said quietly, "but I was too young to know it then." Clara's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. He didn't notice. When dinner ended, he offered to walk her to her car. The night air was cool, the city lights glowing beneath them. "You know," he said, "I don't usually do this. Blind dates, I mean." "I figured," she replied. "You don't seem like a man who leaves much to chance." He chuckled. "You'd be surprised." They stopped at the edge of the street, neither quite ready to leave. "Would you like to see me again?" he asked finally. Clara looked up at him, her eyes soft but unreadable. "Maybe," she said, "but only if you promise to remember me next time." He smiled. "I don't think I could forget you." But as she turned to leave, her lips curved in a sad, knowing smile, because 10 years ago, he already had. Part 2, The Past Comes to Dinner. Approximately 500 words. The next day, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about her. There was something magnetic about Clara, something familiar yet mysterious. He found himself distracted at meetings, replaying her words, her laugh, the strange ache that came with remembering what he couldn't quite place. By evening, he texted her. "Ethan, dinner again tonight. Same place." Clara, "You don't waste time, do you?" Ethan, "Not when I find someone worth it." When she arrived, the restaurant felt smaller, or maybe the distance between them did. "You look beautiful," he said honestly. "Thank you," she replied, sitting down. "I wasn't sure you'd call. I wasn't sure you'd answer," he admitted. They spoke more openly that night. About their dreams, regrets, and how success never really fills the quiet parts of life. Clara listened with a knowing sadness, her mind turning over a memory she'd carried for a decade. Finally, she asked softly, "Do you ever regret walking away from something, or someone?" Ethan froze. "Every day," he said after a pause. "I left someone once. I thought chasing success would make it worth it. But it didn't. Her name? Clara asked, her voice low. He hesitated, the name stuck somewhere between his throat and his conscience. Clara Hayes, he said. She was everything. And he stopped mid-sentence, his eyes widening as the realization hit him. Wait, he whispered. Clara Hayes. His gaze snapped to her face, the eyes, the voice, that laugh. 10 years peeled away in an instant. It's you. Clara looked at him evenly, though her heart was hammering. Yes, Ethan, it's me. The restaurant seemed to fall silent around them. I thought I didn't recognize. You didn't look, she said, her tone calm but trembling at the edges. You never looked back. I was a fool, he said, his voice rough. You waited for me. For months, she whispered. You promised you'd come back after that internship. I believed you. I even went to the train station that day, holding your letter. You never showed. He swallowed hard, guilt burning through him. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought if I focused on my career, I could come back for you when I had something to offer. But you never did, she said softly. And I stopped waiting. Clara, his voice cracked. If I could undo it, I would. I've built everything I ever wanted, and none of it means anything compared to this moment. Tears welled in her eyes, though she blinked them back. You can't fix 10 years, Ethan. You can't buy time. I don't want to buy it, he said. I just want one more chance to deserve you. She studied him, the man who had once broken her heart, now stripped of his arrogance, his empire, his armor. For a moment, she almost believed him. But some wounds don't heal, they just fade enough to remind you they're still there. Goodbye, Ethan, she said gently. I think we've both found what we were missing, just not in each other anymore. She stood, leaving him at the table, motionless. Outside, the city lights shimmered on the wet pavement as she walked away. Ethan remained in his chair long after she was gone, the echo of her voice tangled with the sound of rain against the window. He had conquered boardrooms, markets, and industries. But the one thing he'd lost forever was the only thing that had ever truly mattered.